What's going on? Boys, arm yourselves. We are discussing uncomfortable life stuff today. I'm back to living with family because I couldn't afford my apartment. We were talking about, or I guess we have been talking about, homelessness for a while now, and this was a component. I saw needing to leave coming. I'm thankful I got out of my lease without trouble, and I am now paying about two-thirds rent what I was paying. And this was supposed to be sustainable, still sustainable, cutting it close, but not going in the red. And needing to do this at all is humiliating. However, while trying to deal with my taxes, my something's getting a little fucky wucky sensor went off. Because previously I was not doing online banking at all. My present bank is utter dog shit. And trying to deal with their online banking, which is oftentimes inaccurate, not even worth bothering. But I knew something was getting close to going wrong. So I went in and I checked everything. I had $68.55 in my account. I am almost 4 dimes short of the funny number. And I have committed the cardinal sin, well, two cardinal sins. One, the cardinal sin of poverty. Two, the cardinal sin of incorporating memes into your finances. And while we are too poor to make a joke, here's another one. What do pregnant women and Skimmerlit have in common? Both are eventually going into labor, except pregnant women can miscarry or abort. It was enough to panic me, because the last time I went in and formally checked my account, which I don't like doing, I know I should be checking my account constantly, but I don't like looking at it, there was a fair amount more than I was expecting, but it tracked. This time, there was a fair amount less than I was hoping, and it also tracked. It was enough to make me panic and do some things and think about some things. The second thought that came to mind was taking a job as a mine clearer for a humanitarian organization in some post-war area. Because if you don't have the fortitude to bust the fattest McNut, then clearing mines or something similar serves a few purposes. One, it gets you money, and presumably more than I'm earning right now, which is less than 20K per year, and makes your money stretch a little bit longer if you're getting paid in USD and living somewhere that needs mines cleared. And that's if everything goes well in one way. The other purpose is if it goes well in a different way. You're not exactly Ronnieing yourself. You are not making the decision to pull the plug. You are making the decision to put yourself in a situation in which your plug might get pulled. Which, in my mind, is a big difference. And this is something strange. During the alcohol arc, I was able to get very close to interior decoration or to high-level carpentry. Back then, I was on the job site, there was a nail, there was a hammer, my arm was up, and all I needed to do was hammer that nail. Now, there isn't even a nail, and despite that, I can't even play raising my hammer. What did Skimmerlit lose or gain between the alcohol era and the charity era. What really scares me is maybe I'm losing ground, losing that fortitude, and when worst comes to worst, i.e., feds knocking on the door, I won't have it in me to do what I know I should do. Those feelings haven't gone anywhere. If anything, they've become clearer, but my body is now less inclined to act cooperatively with them. And ironically, that kills me. Because there are so many little things, little discoveries every day, not to mention the big ones, pointing to cashing out being the option. We'll bring up one now and then maybe another one or a few more later because at least the second one is related. But this first one, have you noticed nobody is happy for you ever about anything? I've learned not to share most of my anything with most people most of the time because I learned this a long time ago. But it seems like anytime you're happy about anything, you'll regret it if you make the mistake of opening your mouth. And that's such a small thing, but the fact if you try to share or express happiness in a way that isn't packaged for capital S society or in a socialized manner, you are shamed or shit on or whatever. What's the point of being actually happy? You would perform better socially if you could never experience happiness at all. And that alone, if you dwell on it, is enough to make you not want to exist anymore. Or at least not to exist among people. Or as a human. Anyway, the third thing this theoretical mind clearing or other dangerous humanitarian activity would accomplish, in line with positive 2, is if positive 2 comes to pass, then you're dying in as basic a positive manner as you can. I'm very concerned with my soul, which I'm having a hard time working out for a number of reasons, because I view Ronnie type people as possessing a sort of strength to see and to do. And cosmologically, the idea these people would go to one hell after liberating themselves from another hell is ridiculous to me. I mean, maybe, if you view it that way, if you view there is anything at all, but that, through my eyes, is the highest form of enlightenment and fortitude. Seeing the bluff and calling it. Maybe it's just that I don't have it in me to call the bluff that directly. And in that fashion, I am concerned with the wickedness of my soul. And all of our wickedness. We're a wicked, damned species. And I don't believe there is any changing that. I believe you can fool yourself, and I certainly believe you can fool others, but you can't fool the facts. You are a fundamentally selfish being, and I haven't reconciled that totally. You can't absolve the sin of your birth. You're born damned, and you'll die damned, no matter what you do. I'm finding leaning into your wickedness isn't a solution, but trying to absolve yourself of it to overcome it is certainly not a solution. Charity and assorted good acts don't save you. In fact, charity, structured charity, tends to attract the wickedest people, real bastards. I'm telling you this from experience. Most people involved in charity are weak wills and big egos and shitty actions, disguised as charitable actions. And let's say most of a bastard's actions are charitable. The ends justify the means, but in a positive way. Sure, that doesn't change the fact a damned soul is doing these things. No amount of good you do will change what you are or save you. Yet, I don't really want to work in any sector other than the nonprofit sector because I think there is something to the act of trying to absolve yourself. I never understood, or I mean, I understood it, but I didn't like it. The Sisyphus story. It's rolling a boulder. However, salvation or self absolution is something, a fruitless activity in a similar way, but I do see something valuable in that. But I don't have the words for it yet. I can feel it. Now, in terms of this theoretical job, it ended up not mattering for a few reasons, but one of them is those jobs are not actually that easy to get. If you want death by humanitarianism, you're going to need to try a little harder. Which perfectly encapsulates charity, by the way. We want your money. Because even if you are volunteering, doing everything for free, you're going to cost us money somehow. And between taking you on and paying a little bit and trying to get something done or facilitate your getting something done, helping, we don't want to do it. Instead, just give us your money, and we promise you we'll make something happen. Even though in this volunteering or employment system we have demonstrated to the fact we don't want to pay anyone or facilitate people with a little bit of money who want to work for free. We promise you this money will be going toward what we are denying you. I am proud to say my organization does not operate that way, but that's also why we are nosediving, heading straight into the grave, and I don't even have enough money to make a joke. Here's a little grammar lesson about reflexives. The object pronoun here would be me. The reflexive pronoun here would be myself. So if I wanted to request something from you, you doing unto me, I would say, I want you to shoot me in the head. Me. But if I wanted to use the reflexive form, it would be, I wouldn't be requesting you, it would be something I do to myself. See, myself. So I don't shoot me in the face, I shoot myself in the face. My organization doesn't bleed it to death trying to do good, it bleeds itself to death trying to do good. I would not say it would be grammatically incorrect to say, I want you to fucking curb stomp myself. Me would be the correct object pronoun there. I want you to fucking curb stomp me to death until my brains are everywhere and my teeth are down my throat. Now, the third thing I did, the third thought I followed up on, was applying to the Air Force. Because I think if I were in an administrative role a bit further in, time-wise, I would probably thrive. Because the skill set I have developed primarily is keeping shit running smoothly with an oftentimes unnecessary amount of record keeping. And I applied because this was a less ideal version of the former. I'm caring less and less about trying to do right by people at large. And this one could theoretically still happen, but it won't because I would have to fight for it, and I'm glad that's the case. The conversation was going swimmingly until my charges came up. Scary, scary Skimmerlit. My charges continue to haunt me. It's not always a bad thing, but I can't. It's. I could probably leverage, in certain situations, I could probably leverage my charges to seem harder than I am, but I can't because I'm not. I'm a frustratingly weak person. So, on the one hand, you have people who are aware of it, and you can tell when people you haven't told are aware of it because they're very uncomfortable in your presence. And it's unfortunate because you aren't that, and you're not going to convince anyone of it, or that you aren't. And on the other hand, you have people who want to have a problem with you over it, or situations come up that seeming like someone who could cause a problem would be useful, but you aren't that. You're called a villain, and that's a problem. But then you don't have the strength to do the things you're called a villain over, and that's a problem. Because at least if you were called a villain but you had the ability to do those things, or really see them through, you would at least have that strength, and you don't. Anyway, that didn't rule me out, but the turn in the conversation was abrupt. And then, about a minute later, 1 minute later, the conversation ended with, "You are about 10 pounds overweight, and we can't do anything with you." And I don't understand why people do this. One, I know my weight isn't the real issue here. Two, I know my charges slash my conviction, which are very different, aren't necessarily deal breakers. Say what you mean. The initial gut reaction to that sort of thing isn't what bothers me. I would react the same way. What bothers me is the phoniness following it. When you have a reaction like that, you can be real or you can be phony. This was an opportunity to be real, and you didn't take it. I'm thankful you didn't take it, because it tells me everything I need to know about what the moving forward process would look like, but it's still annoying. Regardless, in my panicking, because that was a very panicky couple of days, not just with the recruiting thing, but in general. Life in general, I was very panicky. Still am a bit panicky. I realized a few other things. I started, I guess you'd call it panic reading. Not really reading, just putting your eyes on the page and trying to focus on something to pass time rather than trying to tune out to pass time. Even though you are kind of, it's like an active form of tuning out. But while I was reading and not reading, that's what hit me. Everything is an active form of tuning out. You aren't doing something, you aren't focusing on something, you aren't trying to reach something, you are passing time. I couldn't bear just to sit there and to do nothing with no stimulation for an extended period of time. I had to do something. So I read, and in reading, I realized why prison is so damaging, why solitary is so damaging, and why everything we do is phony. Prison and solitary are damaging because your consciousness is not allowed to run through things. It's like a circulatory system, your consciousness is. It's always, or should always be, moving things around, taking things in, messing with them, pulling them apart, organizing things, and then spitting out other things. Prison, and especially solitary, is the denial of that. A life lived without that process is almost worthless. You're worse than dead at that point. You are a consciousness not allowed to conch. And I think that's one of the reasons people who meditate rub me the wrong way. You have the vast majority of meditators who use it as a pastime and try to push it on you, but sure as shit come back to reality. And then you have the very few meditators who probably could meditate themselves into starvation, and they're creepy for, well, the initial group aren't creepy, they're annoying. Second group, unnerving. Because they find, or they're able to be present without being conscious. Just go into solitary or something. Don't like them. On some level, back to what we were saying, on some level you know you're passing time. But what hit me is everything is just passing time. Everything you can do exists to get you from this moment to the next. And more unnerving is the fact time is passing with or without a pastime. I don't really know how to get this terror across in words, but there is only one action in existence you can take, and all other, or everything else, is the illusion of action, that action being getting from this moment to the next. Every single other thing in life is a facade over this singular action. And the second part, you don't have a choice. There isn't another option. You are forced to partake in this one action. Of course, I suppose there is another option, which is stopping the passage of time for yourself, but I don't really view that as a separate option because that's where you're going. You have to do that, so it's not really a different action if it's built in. And knowing that, why don't you cash out now? Why is this such a fear? And given everything that's going on, why is your body, your mind too probably, reeling from it more now than it ever has? Back in the alcohol era, you could get really close. As in, if someone startled you, you would be gone. Now, you have so many safeties, you can't even fake getting close to that. And you have so many more reasons to. And you're going there anyway. But I don't have to take any drastic actions just yet, professionally or mortally. Not that I could, of course. I negotiated myself about a month ago into a potential raise. It still hasn't gone through. Well, I renegotiated that into a more substantial raise. All coming from grant money, of course, not harming the organization and handled fairly. So it's not just getting more money, it's working more hours, which is good in and of itself. Because I come in early and stay late anyway, I might as well get paid for it. And I hadn't requested to be paid for it because I'm trying to make this work. But if that raise goes through, I'll have a little more breathing room. Right now, if one thing goes wrong, it's a cascade horror event. If that raise goes through, then I'll have my little bit of breathing room back. The next thing I did was take my YouTube revenue more seriously. I haven't drawn on it yet, and I haven't drawn on it yet for a few reasons. One, my bank sucks. Can't do online banking, and I need it. I need online banking to get this AdSense shit worked out, which I'm working on. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes right in the next 2 weeks. I will officially be drawing YouTube money. The second thing I did was enable mid-roll ads for my MBTI videos on YouTube, which for the most part are the only videos most people go back and watch. So I average between, I'd say, 900 and 2,100 views per 48 hours most of the time. It's kind of a wide range, but in there. Most of those views are MBTI videos, and I don't like my MBTI community. I don't like the MBTI community. So it's very fortunate that I can give most of my views and viewers both fingers and turn on the mid-roll ads and start drawing more money from them. And it actually made a difference. So I've had the MBTI mid-roll ads going for a few days now, enough to see how this is going to look. And it does make a difference. So in terms of daily views, I'd say I lost between 15 and 20% of my view numbers. But those always go back up when videos get published, especially MBTI videos. So I don't imagine that's going to be a problem. But even if it is, with those reduced rates or percentages, whatever, minimum 50% increase on ad revenue daily. I average around... So there was a period I was getting more than $1 per day. That went down to around 90 cents per day. And you need to remember, between taxes and... Well, YouTube takes a flat third, I think, cut. And then taxes... Some taxes get removed, not all of them. But you're not... If you earn $1 a day, you aren't really earning $1 per day. Regardless, I went from between 90 cents and $1.10 per day before getting shit cut out to about $1.50 to $2 per day. Big difference. And on that Phantom Types video, in terms of averages on debut 24 hours on videos, that was 500% more than I normally earn. Huge difference. I have not enabled mid-roll ads for the life videos, or the life playlist videos, everything else, everything not MBTI, because I don't want to... I'm not to the point I'm saying fuck all my viewers yet. We're getting there. Don't get me wrong. I'll turn on mid-roll ads when I have 50,000 subscribers. At that point, I am sure I will safely be at the fuck all of you point. I am not completely there yet. And between the first payout, which I'm sitting on about $700 of pre-cut YouTube money, That should relieve some of the stress in the immediate future. I can divvy that up and handle a few smaller things. And then, as the months go on, YouTube should become a little bit of a financial buffer, which I'm relieved to have. And if I put out more MBTI videos, that can probably become a bit more intense. Both from the earning a certain number of dollars from the first video, which is going to be probably between 3 and 7 initially, the first 48 hours. That also casts the MBTI or passive revenue from older videos, the catalog, a little bit wider. The more of these repeat videos I have that people with glassy eyes and drool rolling down their chins will click on and watch, the better. The more money I can make off them. But thinking about MBTI or typology got me thinking, or monetizing typology, got me thinking about monetizing spiritualism. Spiritualism is a big component of this channel, but we don't do it popularly, really. Now, I have limited experience reading tarot. Much like everything else we do, I am doing it in a way I guess you're not supposed to, but I've found success doing. So I'm working on setting up a Fiverr gig for reading tarot with competitive pricing and better services than most other Fiverr readers I've seen. Not all of them, but for what we're doing, at the price we're doing it, in the way we're doing it, I think this could bring in a bit of money. And if the tarot doesn't work, then learning how Fiverr operates could open up some new avenues to generate the non-fear paper. But let's say tarot does become something that I can realistically earn money doing. I might dedicate a passive segment of this channel to tarot. MBTI has taught me not to get involved with the community, either the other voices in the sphere or even the people watching your videos. Don't get involved with them. The beautiful thing with YouTube is you don't have to be involved with people to make money off them. All you have to do is create shit people will click on and then share, and click on again. I think that's one of the reasons Frank James's channel is in the state it's in, or in the place it's in, rather. Because old FJ was a typological gunslinger. Old Frank James is still one of the only typology sources or creators I would feel comfortable directing people to. So if someone's quality of information is that good, why would they change to making just slop? Well, it's because the community deserves exploitation. They are asking to be pandered to, and you can make a lot of money pandering to them. But pandering sounds like a submissive, wishy-washy verb. This is exploitation. These people are stupid. They don't deserve good information, and they don't even want good information. They want dumb shit they can click on and, once again, glass their eyes over looking at. And you can make a lot of money making their eyes glassy. Now, I'm not going to exploit the typology community that way, because I don't know, outside skits, and I'm not going to be skit guy, I don't know how you would exploit the community, because I don't want to put out information I think is bad, but I also don't there isn't a good way to just churn out shit for them for typology unless you want to just do memes versus tarot. Tarot, you can churn out a bunch of shit without it being bad information. You can perform tarot without necessarily explaining tarot and putting out bad information. There isn't, you can't perform typology without looking like a jackass. Some people are fine with looking like a jackass. I'm not that big into it yet. God, if you gave me, for the right amount of money, I would be a jackass. For the right amount of money, I would make an ass of myself. But to my eyes, if you want to do typology right or ethically, even if ethical involves exploitation, you're either putting out information you've worked on as good as you can get it, or you are doing silly skits. There isn't this easily consumable in between. Tarot, completely different story. Tarot is something you can do. So outside Fiverr, in terms of channel integration, I'm thinking 4 or 5 birthday readings per month, chosen at random by a random number generator. Happy birthday, person born on this date. Here is a whatever spread for your birthday, and do a few of those per month. I can knock them out and have them lined up ready to go pretty quickly. I'm considering starting streaming again. So part of my raise dealio, which, fuck me, man. If I, part of the reason I'm afraid my career is going to go down the shitter is it's financial related. But if I can start bringing in a bunch of money, then the game changes a little bit. So, whichever way the wind blows, I'm going to have until probably the end of this year to figure out what's going on. So I have a little bit of breathing room. Anyway, I'm going to be working Saturdays and Sundays and getting in exchange for Mondays and Tuesdays. And in terms of streaming, a few things to consider. That new time slot opens me up for Sunday night / Monday morning streams. And that's in the United States, which actually is not... I mean, of course, the United States is going to be the biggest demographic, but we're getting a lot of European type viewers. A lot of Indians. So Sunday nights could actually work out somewhat well. Or maybe, or Sunday nights, because it would be Sunday night in the United States, and early morning in, well, to the east. Because weird spot, most of my core audience is outside America. The people who click on videos quickly, have notifications turned on, they aren't Americans. Most of my viewers are Americans, but most of my core viewers are not Americans. And Jim used to do and found success doing morning streams. So that could be, thanks to that time slot, those weird hours, that could actually work out well. Or I could pull off something a little bit inverted on a Monday. I'm not sure. But we have the times to work with. And the key here is not streaming for our current viewers, actually. This would be a step into bringing in new viewers. Because when I used to do tarot streams, I don't exactly understand how YouTube handles its streaming or advertises its streamers, its live streams. But when I used to do tarot streams, most of the people who would come in were not subscribed. They would find an active tarot stream and jump in. So we wouldn't be targeting you, for instance. We would be targeting other people. Someone jumps in and either pays $5 for a spread or listens to someone else having their spread read, gets curious, and finds the Fiverr page, or Fiverr page brings people over here, or the channel sends people over to the Fiverr page. Circulation. I watched a Scrooge McDuck meme video about money and the circulatory system. It would be a good way to drive up engagement and potentially earn some money. We'll see. I could go over to Twitch, but I really hate Twitch. The weirdest thing about YouTube is I don't there must be a faction with some pull within YouTube trying to make things better. They're going to fail, but you can feel things being decent sometimes on YouTube. And I don't know who's responsible for that, but I am thankful for them. Because when I stream on YouTube, which I don't do very much anymore, it's like they advertise me and they get people in. And although there are restrictions, as long as you're being careful, you can get away with more on YouTube far and away than you can on Twitch. So, although this is my home platform, it's my home platform for a reason. Despite all the dystopian shit, there are some people in YouTube trying to do good things, and it shows. You can feel it. I don't really know how it's going to pan out, but if you see tarot videos and more hoo-hoo women than usual poking around, that's what's going on. And I say hoo-hoo women with affection. Don't take that the wrong way. We're all hoo-hoo people here. Except for the ones who aren't for some reason. I don't understand how this channel, or even this section of the channel, attracts people who aren't down with the system. I don't get it. The final potential moneymaker is Amazon Erotica. About 2 years ago, I got some information from an Amazon Erotica author writing in my tags section. And apparently, like, who buys Amazon Erotica? Well, it's the sort of person you exploit. And, like just dummies with money. Horny dummies with money. And you don't have to be one for them to be out there. And enough of them to pay for shit for you. Just by buying the stuff you write. And this author was explaining to me about how it's slow in the beginning, but if you do this, do that, so on and so forth, you very reasonably can build like a part-time job's worth of money doing this, and it's not bad. You can write 5,000 words without a problem. You can do that. My issue would be trying to figure out how to get very close to the line without going over and getting banned, because that would be bad. And I would be writing under Skimmerlit there for a fun gaggle of reasons. So we absolutely, for sure, would not want to get banned. One of the reasons being, one of the things that you are not really allowed to talk about much on YouTube is anything sexual. Which is odd to me, because you can talk about a whole bunch of shit on YouTube without problems. And there are really freaky things you can find on YouTube that are not banned. But maybe it's you have to talk about it in the right way, I'm not sure. I've consistently had bad luck discussing sexual anything on YouTube. So, Amazon publishing would be a way to discuss some of the things I want to discuss on this channel, but have always found bad luck in. It would also be another segment of that circulation engagement thing. Because in my tags, there is actually a vibrant community going on. My tags do attract some really dumb, gross people, but we are nowhere near as bad as furries, and we have kind of a boutique community that I'm very pleased with. And the ones who aren't really stupid seem to be sort of mentally and emotionally fucked up in the same ways. So that might be another little segment of the channel to start building. Except building it somewhere else and like self symbiosis. I'm not sure. That was an idea I had a long time ago, never really made good on, and have since studied the least. But I'm looking into it. Although almost every single entrepreneurial thing I have ever done has failed, YouTube has technically succeeded a little bit, which means it can happen for me. Distinguished from it can happen, because anything can happen to anyone, but it seems like for me, most of the shit I try for whatever circumstances, they don't work. YouTube has proven that some things can work for me. And here, I am putting my faith in that hope, in that precedent. It's going to bite me in the ass. Skimmerlit is going into labor, but we're going to try not to let that happen. And I'm not doing Patreon unless that tarot segment of the channel starts working, because once again, you develop a feel for the way things work. The only people who would donate to my Patreon are the exact people I do not want to be taking money from. Fuck the MBTI people, take money from them. Fuck the tarot people, take money from them. I don't want to take money from people who would give it to me. At least not yet. The idea of Patreon feels humiliating anyway. Right, because among the people who would give to you just to give to you are going to be people who are giving to you so they can feel like they have a say over what you do. Which is probably going to be more than less, but I don't like Patreon. Not above it, but I'm not there yet. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.